favorites.com and go with the home team, Mississippi Farm Bureau. Luke Johnson joins us right now. He's co-host of the SuperTalk Eagle Hour in Hattiesburg and Laurel. It's been a little while since we visited. Luke, good to see you, man.
Yeah, guys, been taking care of school up in North Carolina, so glad to be back. Trying to get back in the saddle this week.
Yeah, I saw some things, I guess, on Twitter. I mean, it looked like you were diving deep. Are you doctor now?
No, I got a long way to go. I'm about halfway through the program. At the end of this year, I should take my kind of comprehensive finals, and then I get cleared to write dissertation all next year. So,
have you figured out what you're going to write your dissertation on yet?
Probably going to write something in India in regards to like Christian martyrdom. Just that's what I'm dealing with some seminar papers on right now. So intense stuff, but good stuff.
There we go. If you need any help with that, I'm sure there are people that can help you. I'm not one of them, though. Not one of them.
Maybe Will East. We'll see.
Probably also not one of the people that you should reach out to. If we're just being honest here, it's just keep it real. This Southern Miss basketball team, 15-4 overall, 4-2 in the league. They started conference playoff with those 2 wins before the Christmas break. Or I guess it was after the Christmas break, but before the start of the new year, where they beat Troy, they beat Appalachian State. And then a 4-game road trip. Split the 4 games on the road trip, but now 4 straight coming at home. I don't know if we're calling that a scheduling quirk or what, but it is odd to play 4 straight in conference play, either at home or on the road.
Yeah, talked to Jay Ladner today a little bit about that, and it is a big-time scheduling quirk. The Sun Belt's still trying to – the Sun Belt doesn't do very many things that you just kind of look at and be like, they could have done that better, but this was kind of one of them. And later in the year, Southern Miss has got to play at Old Dominion on a Thursday and then go to San Marcos and play Texas State on Saturday. So it's part of the expansion to 14 teams where they're trying to work that out. So this is one of those quirks. Ladies kind of have the same thing, but they didn't get I think they get like a 2-game homestand towards the end of the year. So where it hurt Southern Miss last week, I told you about this a little bit. They had a big Thursday night game on ESPN2 against Marshall, and their travel day was the same day that the FAA had the computer issues. And so the Eagles were like traveling for like 30 hours, didn't get a shoot around in Huntington. They were in an airport for like 10 to 12 hours. It was just brutal. Jay said it was the roughest that they had ever been, and you kind of saw that in the first half. But you talk about parity in this league. 9 of the 14 teams are 500 or better in league play. 9 of 14 are 500 or better overall. And Southern Miss right now in a 6-way tie for first place.
A 6-way tie for first place at 4-2, and maybe in a good position with 4 straight home games. South Alabama, and then James Madison, and then Arkansas State, who they've already beaten, and then Texas State as well. It'll be the first time that they have played them. Opportunity here, right, to maybe create a little separation to kind of solidify themselves atop the standings?
Yeah, I mean, you're a third of the way through the season, and Jay said today with us on the Eagle Hour, it's 12-game season. You got 7 at home, 5 on the road. Starts tomorrow night against South Alabama, and the fact that they went 500 would have loved to have been 3-1, but the fact they went 2-2, they really have an opportunity. Texas State's the only team they're facing with a winning record in the Sun Belt. So if they could go 3-1 right here, and end up 7-3 coming out of it, would love to. Tomorrow night, South Alabama's got a huge dude playing underneath the Samuel kid, 7 foot 260. And Southern Miss has got to try to find a way to get him. They do get Alvarez back. This is a big transfer from Mercer in the offseason. Came over with Felipe Haase. He got injured in the 3rd game of the season, and it's kind of forced Crowley and Mo Arnold to play more point. And Alvarez coming back will play some point guard. Very good pass distributor. He won't be 100% tomorrow night. He won't start because they got to get his conditioning back up. But for the Eagles to have him, for 2/3 of the way coming down the stretch is really big to get him back.
You mentioned Crowley, the Ole Miss transfer. Austin Crowley has started all 19 games this season and is having a really good year, a career year. 17 points a game, shooting, good grief, 49% from the field and 35% from behind the arc. He's been huge.
He's been absolutely huge, and particularly in the last since they hit conference play, people have really keyed in on Hase. I mean, he was phenomenal, during non-conference play. They started doubling him. It's allowed Crowley to be, get one-on-one matchups. And DeAndre Pinckney's been huge with the double team. Pinckney at 6'8" can hit from the outside, and he's been big on the glass. But Najee Harris this past Saturday had a career game too with 22 points. So with Hase being double teamed a lot, they found ways, to distribute the ball. But Crowley has to continue to be key down the stretch. I mean, because he has demonstrated he can shoot anywhere on the court. And I think I said this before. Not sure how he got out of Oxford, man, but Hattiesburg's welcome that he's here.
Yeah, it's been it certainly has been a good move for him and a guy that Ole Miss could use given their struggles shooting the basketball. Let's do a little bit of a jump cut here and move across campus to the Pete, where we are now inside a month until first pitch. Southern Miss hosting Liberty in a 3-game series. D1 Baseball's top 25 poll came out yesterday. I think it was either yesterday or the day before. Southern Miss preseason number 18. A lot of pieces back. There's some new faces, especially in some important spots. But this is another baseball team that folks think highly of going into the year.
Yeah, people outside thinking highly, but we had some ticket office guys on earlier in the week. There is not a single seat available, general admission or chair this season. They are now going to sell standing room only season tickets for the Pete because they're completely sold out. There's not the
entire stadium sold out with season tickets.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
After the Super Regional, they got a lot of feedback, and so they what they did they basically made the general admission season tickets, and so they figured out how many they need to sell, and so people now, if they want to watch the Pete, you need to go ahead and buy that season standing room only season ticket.
And like most places, right? I mean, you buy the standing room only ticket. Most weekends, most games, there will be some seats available somewhere, and you'll be able to sit down. It's just when you get to that massive weekend series where you're playing for a conference title or, it's a huge rivalry series or something along those lines where you may have to stand up.
Sure. And you got Dallas Baptist coming in this year. You got Liberty coming in this year, conference. You got South Alabama and Lafayette coming in. And it's going to be really, really, really exciting. And they just released the attendance numbers. I just continue to think it's phenomenal. Everybody knows what State and Ole Miss puts in, but Southern Miss 11th in average attendance, 9th nationally in overall attendance last year. That's just absolutely phenomenal for a mid-major program to have that much support. I think.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say just shy of 5,000 per game. Is there a scenario where they can eclipse that mark for an average per game? I mean, are there simply enough seats in there to be able to do that?
I mean, there was a 10,000 people for the Super Regional.
It was a big crowd.
So it was a big crowd. You can bring LSU in, and people will be hopping over the fence. But yeah, I mean, realistically, I think they can push that. It's just a matter of how many people they can fit. They're eventually going to have to do something. I think there was some architects walking around, during the conference tournament where they had 3 straight weeks of postseason baseball, just trying to figure out what they can do in the future.
Yeah. Tanner Hall, obviously the anchor of this staff, coming back, the junior right-hander, so good a season ago. What else do we need to know on the mound?
Matthew Adams comes back. Of course, you got Isaiah Rhodes out of the bullpen. Kind of 2 young kids that we're excited to see. Nico Mazza, he came in late in the Super Regional, threw well. But J.B. Middleton out of Benton Academy in Yazoo City, he received some national pressure lately. He's a freshman, and he's hitting around 95. So they got the pieces, but offensively with Tate Parker coming in, Matt Etzel, who has been called the best JUCO player coming in anywhere in the country, they're loaded in the outfield with Wilkes and Pato. So should be good.
Chandler Best stick to the bullpen, or do you think you possibly see him in the rotation?
He's injured. He has an elbow injury, and I believe he will not be available this year. Yeah, it's tough.
Ugh, gross. That,
do want to mention real quick.
Goes with the territory in baseball.
Sure does. You guys may have already covered it, but you may want to look into Dan O'Brien, the new defensive coordinator. who will probably be officially named later this week. Comes out of the same school of Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. He and Armstrong were under Smart together at Georgia. So that's going to be your new defensive coordinator. Also was under Belichick for a season at the Patriots. So Southern Miss fans should see continued nasty bunch.
Have you got time where we can talk for just a couple more minutes after the break?
Sure.
All right. I meant to get to the thing, the football stuff. That there was big news, I guess it was, earlier this week. Austin Armstrong, who was the defensive coordinator, young, thought highly of in the coaching profession, also coached inside linebackers. He's making the move to Tuscaloosa. Luke, going to be on Nick Saban's staff. And it's going to we were talking about this earlier in the week. Feels like, given his track record, we're going to trust Will Hall in terms of building a staff. And Dan O'Brien's name is now one that people need to get to know.
Absolutely. Just to finish up on Austin Armstrong, I mean, what more can you want out of, a guy coming in as young as he was, 2 years? The other day, I just told him, I said, thanks for bringing the nasty bunch back, because that's what he did. Kids responded to him well, and he was a guy that had worked with Will earlier. And so, yeah, I mean, nobody at Southern Miss frustrated at all. I mean, you can't blame a guy as young as he is getting the opportunity like that to go to Alabama. Man, we wish him all the best. So Dan O'Brien, that last name may ring a bell with some people in the college ranks. His father, Tom, was head coach at Boston College and at North Carolina State. So Dan coached under was a GA under his dad at Boston College, or graduated at Boston College, and then he spent some time with Belichick at the Patriots 1 year, and then he spent 4 years under Saban when Kirby was there as the DC. Then went on to the Naval Academy, and then ended back up at Georgia under Kirby Smart, and then came from Georgia to Southern Miss. So this is really the same tree that Armstrong comes out of, and I think that's why it's a no-brainer for Will to promote O'Brien to defensive coordinator. And he's coached safeties the last couple of years. So what you've seen out of Malik Shorts and Jay Stanley, those guys getting the postseason nods like they did. Southern Miss fans can really expect, somewhat. It'll be a little twist on it, but it'll be the same scheme because it comes from the same tree.
Yeah. You look at Dan O'Brien's picture and you're like, hold on, he's not old enough to have done all of those things that you just talked about as well. And yet he has. He's had a bunch of different stops and, another one of the young, bright stars in the coaching world.
I think so. I mean, when you look at, you just named those first three names he's been under. Plus, the time when he was at the Naval Academy is when they won, I think they won 20 games in 2 years. He was there during their 11-win season. So Southern Miss fans got a great to be excited about. Just this past week, Avery Hobbs is coming back. He led Southern Miss with tackles for loss. Maples is coming back. Bozeman's coming back. Malik Shorts is going to the NFL, so they lose him. But there's a lot of pieces of this defense with some of the other transfer portals in. O'Brien's going to have a lot to work with next year.
Hey, who's going to play quarterback?
Tyke's hit the portal. He's at Syracuse. I don't know if you saw that. It looks like he's committed to Syracuse. So, yeah, okay. Billy Wiles, Holman Edwards, Zach Wilkie. I'm sure that Will might take you in with some experience, Richard. You could add some depth to the quarterback room.
Feels like it'll be quite the competition in spring ball and maybe even rolling through fall camp. Training camp, not fall camp, training camp. Sorry, I'm out of practice.